Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Well, today we're talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, episode 9 of season 2, our musical episode entitled Subspace Rhapsody. This is one of those episodes that we've known about for a little while now, and there's been a lot of anticipation wrapped up in this episode as to whether it was going to be good or whether it was going to be cringy. And I think it was good. I think the songs were good. I think the cast members, who they gave the most musical numbers to sing, did the best job of singing them. I definitely saw a few crew members getting more songs than others, and you could tell these were the ones that had singing ability. And maybe the ones that weren't quite as good didn't get as many songs to sing, which was totally fine. I think the songs were fairly well written. I already have a sort of sense of what my favourite songs were, but I think these sorts of musical numbers benefit from multiple viewings. The first time you watch them through, you're just kind of learning the songs. The second or third time you're watching them through, you know the songs, and then you can, kind of get into them a bit more because you're the tune is kind of familiar in your head. But I definitely rank this episode up there amongst some of the better sort of, I guess sci-fi and fantasy shows that have done these kind of musical episodes in the past, such as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Flash, Xena and so forth. Have all done musical episodes, and I'd reckon this one, I'm not sure I would rank it quite as good as the Buffy musical episode, but I'd definitely rank it second. I think it was definitely better than the Flash musical episode for sure. So I'd probably rank it second in the musical sort of sci-fi and fantasy show musical numbers list, I would say. But let's get into the breakdown and review this week of Subspace Rhapsody. The episode opens with obviously them discovering this subspace fold is going to triple comm speed and how to try to communicate with it and so forth. A lot of the ship systems have been diverted to analyze it and whatever. So Uhura is doing a lot of the shipboard communications all manually, working like a sort of a telephone operator, diverting everybody's calls all around the ship rather than have people do that sort of automatically through the computer. So she seems like she's pretty overwhelmed with a lot of work, but she's coping pretty admirably. Although I did notice a possible error in these communication logs. In the transporter room, it lists number 1 as Lieutenant Una, whereas surely this should in fact read Lieutenant Commander Chin Riley. We've got Pike and Battelle talking about going on vacation and sort of debating where they're going to go on vacation, what sort of location they're going to travel to and so forth. Battelle wants to go somewhere, Pike doesn't seem overly keen. And then we find out we've got Kirk on a bit of a work experience or captaincy experience kind of mission on board the Enterprise. It seemed a little bit odd, just sort of plonking Kirk back on the Enterprise for this episode. They sort of said that he's doing work experience with under Pike to kind of observe captaincy behaviour or something. But then again, can't he just do that on board the Farragut? Why can't he just observe whoever the captain of the Farragut is and learn from him? It sort of seemed a little bit kind of crowbarred in there to suddenly drag Kirk off the Farragut and have him on the Enterprise just so he could be part of this musical episode. That was a little tiny bit forced, I thought. I love the interaction between number 1 and La'an when Kirk's beaming on and, La'an's a bit sort of, she has energies about her and number 1's kind of picking up on this. I thought that was a little exchange between them. Number 1 sort of saying, you're making me sweat and you have a vibe about you or whatever. I thought was quite a nice little exchange between these two characters. Next we see Chapel and Ortegas talking about this medical fellowship that Nurse Chapel has applied for, and it's with Roger Kirby. Now, going back from original series, we know that Roger Kirby was Christine Chapel's fiance. They were engaged at some point. Later down the track, obviously, Roger Kirby, as we know from the TOS episode, I think it's Little Girls Are Made Of, he ends up transferring his consciousness into an android body, which doesn't necessarily go very well. It mustn't have been a Sung android. They must have had a very cheap android body or something there, because yes, that didn't necessarily pan out particularly well. But we do know that obviously this fellowship that Chapel goes to study under Corby results in her engagement to him, and she gets it. She gets the job, which she's very happy about, but also a little bit torn up about because it means that the relationship with Spock is, going to be quite short-lived. We see Spock and Uhura and Pelia scanning the subspace fold, trying to get a reaction out of it, I guess. Thanks to Pelia's suggestion, they use music, which seems to have the correct effect because a shockwave is sent right through the ship, which kind of affects everybody. Before they know it, there's some breaking into song happening, where we get our very first musical number entitled Status Report, which kind of goes around the ship and has got the guys in engineering and then onto the bridge, and we kind of get everybody singing a little bit in this very first number. I think it's a nice way into the musical songs. I think this song, it's not too over the top. It's very subtle. The characters are questioning as to why they are singing. The lyrics, I think, are apt to what you would be singing if you just suddenly started breaking into song and weren't sure why this was occurring. This was a nice way into the musical numbers as we slowly build into the songs in this episode. Next we get the Strange New Worlds opening title sequence, but this time they've been rearranged a little bit. They're kind of doing it a cappella style. There's some music in there as well, but there's also some like sort of pentatonics or whatever it is, a cappella kind of singing as well, wrapped into the opening theme, which I thought was a nice addition. Next we have a briefing scene where our crew kind of discusses the predicament they're trapped in and why they're singing, and they're sort of stuck in this musical reality in this sort of zipper-like anomaly that the ship is passing through, and they're trying to put together a plan to how they get themselves out of this anomaly. Next, Spock finds out about Nurse Chapel's fellowship that she's got with Dr. Kirby, and he's not that rapt about it. He sort of, realizes this probably means the end of their relationship because she's going to be off the ship for 3 months, getting nice and cozy with Dr. Kirby, which will ultimately result in an engagement, based on what we know from the original series episode. Next, we get our second song of the episode, Connect to Your Truth, between number 1 and Kirk. Kirk's obviously on board the ship to kind of learn how to be a good first officer with the look towards ultimately being captain, and he's getting some advice from number 1. And number 1 sings this song, obviously with a little bit of help from Kirk as well. And I love the fact that this song has a little bit of a Gilbert and Sullivan style to it. We know Una loves Gilbert and Sullivan from her rendition of Modern Major General to Spock in the turbo lift when Spock first came on board the Enterprise. I love the fact that they leaned into number 1's love of Gilbert and Sullivan for this musical number, and very much have it kind of inspired by that sort of style of music. During this song, we see Latta observing the musical number in the corridors, and she starts to go through some emotional responses of her own to seeing this, and starts to reflect on her relationship with Kirk back in episode 3, where they travelled to the past and everything, and how she sort of got this relationship that they had wrapped up in her mind, and she's having trouble reconciling what she should do about her feelings. And La'an's song is called How Would That Feel? And it's a good song, and you can tell that Christina Chong has got a great singing voice. I think she's one of the standouts. The only criticism I have of probably her song in this episode is it took place in her quarters. She was obviously by herself, and a lot of the songs she sung, even though it was a fantastic song and she sung it well, she was kind of just sort of standing still, singing her heart out, but there wasn't a lot of choreography, a lot of movement during this musical number. I think I would have liked to see her move around her quarters a bit more, rather than just kind of stand still and kind of belt out the song in 1 or 2 places. Even though she kind of got the watch out of the drawer, and obviously the watch has got special meaning to her and everything, and she used that emotional resonance in the song, I just think it was kind of a little bit static in its choreography. I would have liked to see a little bit more movement and everything incorporated into this scene. But the song was great, and I think Christina Chong sung it really well. I also love the imagery in this song, where she kind of imagines moments with Kirk from the past. I don't think these moments actually happened when they were in the past. These were more fantasies in La'an's mind as to maybe what she would have liked to have happen when she was in the past with alternate universe Kirk and everything. So they were sort of little cool fantasy moments to see as well. We get a scene in the turbo lift with La'an sort of saying to Pike there's a potential security risk here because people are singing, and whenever we sing we're revealing all this very intimate personal information and knowledge, and that could pose a security risk, which sort of Pike doesn't really kind of see as being a huge issue until, of course, Pike gets a message from the Cayuga, courtesy of Captain Battelle, where they start breaking into song. And that song was called Private Conversation. conversation. They're definitely shouldn't be having this discussion in public, but the musical Subspace Fold are kind of making them spout their most personal inner thoughts and everything. It wasn't a very long song. I thought they kept this song quite brief between Battelle and Pike, but I do love the way that the song finished with Latta severing communications with the Cayuga, cutting the transmission off, stopping the music, and Pike being left at the front of the bridge doing this very grandiose pose to Marie Battelle, and then having to kind of pull himself together quite quickly after that. So I thought that was a cute moment. We also get a first-time mention of Captain Battelle's first name, which is in fact Marie. And it appears this anomaly is affecting a good chunk of this area of space, and that 12 different starships have become affected by this anomaly. And Eunice says that she's talked to Admiral April, and he has a lovely baritone singing voice that he informed her of this piece of information. So that was quite funny. I did laugh at that line there in the episode. And next we get a song by Una. She sings the song Keeping Secrets when she talks to Latta about what she's got going on with Kirk and everything. And this sort of song plays out with reference to multiple characters on board the ship. Obviously, she's singing this song, but it's in reference to Latta and Kirk. It's in reference to Spock and Chapel, and maybe even Pike and Battelle as well. Kirk and Latta manage to transport some of the particles from the anomaly onto the ship to see if they can get rid of the anomaly by blowing it up, but they soon work out after a big explosion on board the ship that that's not going to work, that if they did launch, torpedoes into this thing or whatever it's going to do, it's going to wipe out half the quadrant. So that's just not going to be an option. And we soon find out that the Klingons are incoming. They are coming and they have been dishonoured. This anomaly has dishonoured the Klingons. They're not happy at all about being made to burst into song. It's probably demeaning, as we're going to find out later in the episode. Just an example of that demeaning event that the Klingons have been subjected to, and they want to blow the shit out of this anomaly for what it's done to them. So yes, it's going to be an interesting situation to see the Klingons in this capacity. And our Klingon captain is played by none other than Hemmer himself, Bruce Horak. Great to see Bruce Horak back in this episode, even if it's not as Hemmer, it's as a Klingon captain. So good on him. If the Klingons launch weapons at this thing, it's going to, basically destroy every starship that's been affected by the subspace fold. So that's just that's not a good idea. Next we get a song in the recreation lounge or the bar, whatever. I don't know what we're calling this location. Is it like the recreation lounge? Is it like the bar, the nightclub, where Nurse Chapel is essentially celebrating the fact that she's got this fellowship with Dr. Corby, and she sings the song I'm Ready. Obviously, she got turned down by the Vulcans a couple of episodes ago, and she's wanting to expand her knowledge. This was a good musical number. I think Jess Bush has got a good singing voice. I love the fact that there was a bit more choreography wrapped up in this song as well. So we had everybody in the recreation lounge there, not only singing in a more ensemble sense, but also we had some choreography and a bit of dancing in there as well. I think that worked really nicely. So this was a really good musical number, I thought. Kirk and Lan are kind of going over how to deal with the Klingons, whether a tactical response is going to work or not, and it doesn't seem like it's probably going to be the way to go. During the scene, Lan confesses what she's been through with alternate universe Kirk and everything, and that there's feelings are there on her behalf. And it seems like these feelings are a bit reciprocated from Kirk's behalf. We didn't get any further advancement to their relationship in this episode, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be playing out anytime soon, because Kirk reveals that he is in fact in a kind of a bit of a on-again, off-again relationship with Dr. Carol Marcus, and she's pregnant with David. Obviously, we saw Carol Marcus in Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, and David Marcus was in Star Trek II as well. And obviously then he appears in Star Trek III, where he is later killed by the Klingon. But it's nice to see some origins of that relationship. It's sort of, I think it's good that we got to see that, because in Star Trek II it was very much out of the blue that all of a sudden Kirk had this relationship with Carol Marcus, and he had a fully grown son that we'd never heard about any time before. It was like completely never mentioned, never even hinted at in any way, shape or form. So I think the fact that they kind of introduced it in this episode was was really good just to give it a little bit of a setup. Next we get Uhura and Spock in engineering, analysing some data and trying to work out how they're going to tackle this anomaly. They need to find some kind of special frequency or whatever to dissipate it. And Spock realises that Chapel is going to be leaving the Enterprise to go off to do some fellowship study with Dr. Kirby. And he realises the relationship is pretty much doomed at that point. It seems to have come and gone very, very quickly. We didn't even really see Chapel and Spock doing anything couple-like at all. I know they were trying to keep their relationship on the hush-hush and very much under the table, so to speak. We kind of never really saw anything play out, apart from that very first kiss at the end of the episode when Spock and his wife T'Pring's relationship kind of fell apart. And here we see Spock sing the song I'm the X, which he does pretty well. Ethan Peck's got a really good singing voice, and I think he performs this song really admirably. I like the double meaning of the X being X as in the numerical value X with algebra for mathematics, but also X as in EX as I'm, the ex-partner of Nurse Chapel. And here in engineering, we hear Uhura sing the song Keep Us Connected. This, I think, is probably one of my favourite songs of the episode. I think this song really, got into my, head, and, I was sort of humming it a little bit after watching the episode. So it was definitely the most earworm worthy song, I think, in the episode. Really well sung by Celia Rose Gooding. Great singing voice. I love that there was a little bit more movement and a bit more choreography perhaps in this song as well. So we had a bit more camera movement, a bit more physical movement and everything with Uhura singing this song, belting it out in engineering. And that was one of my favourites. And it turns out that they've worked out that in order to get to the frequency that they need to get to destroy or at least dissipate this anomaly, they have to hit this certain number in terms of, song power. so they have to get to 344 on whatever scale that is at in order to get out of this predicament that they're in, which means they have to have a very big musical number with lots of singing and everybody on the whole ship involved. So there's nothing like a big ensemble closing number to the episode. And that's the song We Are One, which everybody sings. We've got everybody dancing, we've got choreography on the bridge and everything. Everybody gets a line or two in the song, so it's a team effort. We managed to have a bit of a bump into the Klingons, and the Klingon starts singing this kind of boy band number, and like doing boy band dancing in the background. Oh my God, I immediately just was in hysterics. This was the funniest moment of the episode, watching Klingons, and you go, oh, okay, this is why they were saying they were being dishonored by the anomaly or whatever, and they had to destroy it, that they were being forced to, to jump into this sort of boy band singing and dancing. So that was absolutely hilarious. I absolutely loved that moment. I think it could have. Some people might have found it cringy, but I just found it absolutely hysterical. I was just rolling on the floor laughing. One of the biggest comedic highlights of this episode. The big musical number works. The subspace fold is destroyed. The singing has ceased, and everyone is returning to normal again now that that's gone. We have a last scene in the recreation lounge between Latta and Una, just talking about Kirk and how that didn't necessarily pan out how Latta wanted, but at least now she's open to maybe not being quite so serious. She's a bit of a serious character, and I think she's now realises that she wants a little bit of love, a bit of levity in her life, and not to take things quite so serious so often. And that she's open to things going forward. Likewise, there's a bit of a resolution between Pike and Battelle. They're going to find a holiday destination that suits them a little bit better than where Battelle was suggesting. There needs to be a bit of compromise, I guess, and they need to go on their vacation somewhere that they both are looking forward to going, I guess. But that's been delayed for now because Battelle is off on a Priority 1 mission, which I'm guessing has something to do with our finale coming next week, which involves the Gorn. So I'm really worried that the Cayuga might be up for some punishment at the hands of the Gorn. So hopefully Captain Marie Battelle makes it through the end of the season in one piece. And the episode concludes with Uhura just humming along a little bit of a track there on the bridge, and everybody's worried there for a second that the anomaly is back at work, but it's not that case at all. It's just Uhura's got a bit of a song stuck in her head with an earworm. That was a lovely way to end the episode. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I thought It had the potential to go either way, to be, highly entertaining or really cringy. And I think they played to everybody's strengths. They had some good songs, some good musical numbers, some good choreography. The actors who had the best singing voices got the most musical numbers. I think Ethan Peck had a great singing voice. Christina Chong had a great singing voice. Obviously, Celia Rose Gooding had a great singing voice. Rebecca Romijn's singing voice was pretty good. Even Anson Mount, who probably had the least singing in the episode to do, when he did sing, he could hold the note. He didn't embarrass himself. So yeah, I think the songs were catchy. The actors performed them well. I didn't feel there was too many cringy moments in the episode. I think there was some great humor in the episode as well, with the Klingons singing as well, which I thought was hilarious. All in all, yeah, I love this episode. I think it was a great episode. I had some reservations, but I reckon, yeah, I would definitely put it up there amongst other great musical episodes that have come out of other TV shows, like Buffy. I think I enjoyed it more than the Flash musical episode. Obviously, there's been others from Scrubs and from Xena and everything as well. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think there's some really nice moments in this episode. They took a pretty big swing by doing it, the producers and the writers of the show, to see if it was going to work or not. And I think they took a big swing and they hit it out of the park. So well done to everybody. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. But let me know what you guys think. Did you enjoy Subspace Rhapsody? Were you entertained by this episode, or did it make you feel uncomfortable and did you think it was out of place? Let me know your thoughts. Put a thought in the comments section and let me know maybe what your favourite song was in this musical episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, be sure to do so. Click on that big subscribe button to stay current and up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. And also check out my merch. There's a bit of a sale in the merch store. It's 20% off. Big discount. It doesn't normally get any bigger than 20%. That's as big as it normally gets. So be sure to check out the merch store. Pick yourself up a t-shirt or a hoodie or something. And it all helps to keep the channel rolling along. Much appreciated. Guys, I'll be back really soon with my next video. I'll see you soon.